translation is more about like finding words to replace the words from one language to another, kind of mapping it out. Whereas like transcreation is more about trying to convey like this, like we say often, like the spirit of Bani, like the spirit of these lines, the wider sort of message, and then where it's necessary, offering some kind of contextualization. So in the example that Ishmeet gave from Asakiwar, like in the literal translation, we use the word fear because that's the literal translation. But in the transcreation, we have the ability to sort of explain that by using different word choices. So we had discussions about it, and we thought, okay, well, reverence is a kind of sort of combination of like fear and like respect and love all kind of tied into one. It's not about being scared of someone. And so, we are having these discussions about like, what is the thing that is being conveyed, or from our best understanding, what is the message that we think is trying to be conveyed, and like, how do we honor that message instead of just like trying to map things out from like the original into the Panjabi, into the English. And, there are certain words that we've discussed that like in English maybe don't mean the same thing as they mean in Panjabi, because words have layered meanings. And something like and I just spoke about, I think a couple of days ago, was this idea of like pleasing. We're working on Barama, and like this word pleasing comes so much. And there are certain moments where I think in English that becomes a more kind of, not like transactional, but this is kind of like a casual way to say it, but I told him in the meeting, like, it makes me think of like a jester trying to like please a king. And there's moments where that like doesn't really make sense in the context of the Vani. And like, there's a moment where it says like, when the virtues of Prabhu are pleasing to the human bride, right? Then Prabhu becomes pleasing to the human bride. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. That makes it sound like we're like owed some kind of, I don't know, entertainment or something to make us like want to sing these virtues, right? And so another word that we had in the word definitions was endearing or dear. And so it's really like when those virtues mean something to the human bride, to the seeker, that's when like Prabhu becomes this like object of their affection, right? Prabhu becomes endearing. Ikonkar becomes endearing. So something, I think with transcreation, we have the ability to like further explain those ideas without going way into commentary, because we also are offering commentaries, but offering some more context into these terms, especially for I was going to say diaspora Sikhs, but I think a lot of people are removed from what Ishmeet was saying about like land and certain metaphors, and so we get to sort of transcreate those emotions and transcreate the spirit of those lines in a way that isn't so strictly about mapping things out. And one other thing I wanted to point out, and this isn't really about transcreation, but it's also about like the importance of footnotes. And so there's so many terms that like maybe the Panjabi team has offered footnotes for on some level, but then in English we need more contextualization because there's not as much sort of transfer of context knowledge, I guess, if I can say that. And so an example we had in Kucheji was the like metaphor of the mango grove, and the like seeker says that she like sees these sohagins, these fortunate brides, these connected seekers who are sitting in the shade of the mango tree. And me reading that in my like context, sitting in the suburbs of Maryland, I'm like, okay, a mango tree has big leaves and you sit under it and it feels nice and it's hot outside. So, but when we talked about it more, it's about this idea of like burning in longing, right? And the Kucheji is burning and longing. She's so vulnerable and she's so, she just wants to feel connected, but it's like burning up inside of her. And she's seeing those who have had that union, those who had that connection, and they're kind of able to exhale in the like coolness. Their burning has kind of been cooled down. They've been satiated. And I wouldn't have had that knowledge if it weren't for like a little footnote. And I know that like not everybody is going to read these things and click on every footnote, but being able to contextualize and offer that to those who want to interact on that level, or in that depth, is a really important thing. And I think that both the transcreation and the footnotes offer that additional sort of like context and understanding that maybe doesn't always come from literally mapping the original Gurmukhi into the English.